All right. It is 6 p.m. Welcome, everyone. I'll call our meeting to order. This is our Tokerville City's work meeting. My name is Keen Ellsworth. The mayor is out of town. He'll be back, I think, the end of this month. I'd like to excuse also Councilman Bringhurst. He also is out of town. He'll be back, I think, within the next week or so. So let's begin. Let's go forward. We'll have a pledge of allegiance by Councilman Chaves, and after that, if Councilman Williams gives opening prayer, we'd appreciate that.
Please follow me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Our dear Heavenly Father, we come to you this bright evening to ask the blessing on this assembled group of people who are here to do thy will and to help this town. We thank thee for the moisture that we've received. We ask for a little more spread out. Please help us to do the things that we are supposed to do to help this great country stay great. We say these things in the name of thy Son, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. All right. There were no opening comments that I'm aware of, but there was assigned by the mayor. So next would be any statements of belief. Seeing none, we'll go on to our agenda items. Looking for approval of the agenda.
I would like to change the order of our agenda, move item F4 up to item 1. Blair would like to discuss it before he has a city council meeting, so.
You have a second?
My second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so we'll take care of that. Are there any disclosures of or declarations of conflicts from the city council members? Okay, let's go on our next item. To our department reports. Ash Creek Special Services District with Mr. Blair Gubler as their representative today.
Thanks, Mayor. So
try not to spit on that mic, otherwise we're going to use that right after.
really, sounds like you're talking from, now, that's not good. So within the last week with the big thunderstorms that's happened, we've had quite a bit of restoration work to do. Right now, we're out around the turn on the line that comes from Anderson Junction because it washed over it and exposed about 300 feet of pressure sewer main. And it came, we've put it back in place and reshaped it. The gas company is going to buy the riprap to go on it, and then we'll place it. So it hopefully we'll be back in service there. The other places that we've been, it's all been packed and road base and stuff like that, so we didn't have any other exposed. There has been some big storms in Hurricane. So I thought you guys, where that was in your city, it might be interesting to you. We had 3,500 bales of hay. They moved out this morning. We have one more cutting and it would be done if any of you are invested in hay. It's been a pretty good year for us for what we have under cultivation. We took a pivot out to raise more goats because the hay growers were complaining we were cutting into their market. And apparently there's no goat growers in this area. So does the council have any settled spots or anything for me?
Thank you.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we've been continue to stay busy. Hasn't slowed down any. With all this rain and stuff, we've actually done pretty good in the district. We've had a little bit of flooding, but nothing major. A few homes that's got some water in. One of our guys that works with us had one down here in Cholla Creek. Got a little come down off his roof and his thing got clogged up, so it worked its way into the basement. A couple inches in there, but That's really about the main one I've heard of. We had a good chance in Leeds the other day when we had that storm that come through. Got them pretty good, and then they got a second storm, but done a little sandbagging, and I don't know of any houses that got flooded over there. We did help out last week in Enoch, sent 4 people up in 2 trucks with a bunch of pumps and stuff up to Enoch. Spent about 8 hours up there a little after midnight helping those guys in Enoch. Kind of interesting, one of the guys that went up, they assigned him a street in Enoch, and he said, "Oh, that's the street my parents live on." So the first house, the guy said, "First house you go to is your parents' house." So, but they just leapfrogged down the road and just kept pumping basements. We found that just the little pumps, just your little shop vacs work the best unless you got a lot of water. Because our other big pumps are so big, you got to have about 6 to 8 inches to get anything out. And they did have a few homes up there that had the full flood in the basement. So got some good feedback from the police department up there and the department for our help up there. So it's good that we sent some people up there and help. So we feel pretty lucky. I feel like he said in the prayer, it'd be nice if they just give it to us all equally and stop the flooding, but we'll take what we get. So again, we're staying busy over here. In July, we had a total of 13 medical calls and 4 fire calls. So a little bit busier than June, but I'm sure you see us come through a lot more out to the freeway and Leeds and stuff. So any questions for us?
Do you want me to address the working agenda items now, or you want me to do it as you get to them?
We get to those. Anything other than-
So next week, Firelight will be making a presentation only to the Planning Commission for a resort area. So if you guys would like to, anybody would like to be there.
We may have to do some work, changing some zones or making an overlay for a resort area. And there's some talk about maybe having to do some more work on the MPDO as far as how we're gonna accommodate like hotels and resort zones for density calculations.
So Dana, is that something we have to advertise if more than,
For a special meeting, if there's
If
no,
more than
there's
2
gonna
of
be
us?
city council requirement.
do you want more than 2 of us or?
It's up to you guys, really.
It's the planning commission meeting.
Right, we'll have to,
Inviting us to a presentation.
right, but we'll still have to advertise it as an open.
We could also make another presentation to you on the 18th if you want
I don't know if I want you to sit through it twice or make you do it twice. I'm just,
to. We get better at it. I might do it on fall time, probably decent.
What
Talking
do
the 11th, is that what you're saying? Yeah, I won't be able to be there on the 11th myself, but that's just me. If the 2 of you want to be there, then the 3 of you, then we should notice it up.
well, Gary, you're gonna be there anyways, right?
We have a time.
I've seen it. I was at the last staff meeting.
Right, you need to, I'm just wondering if we need to, is it that big of a deal to advertise it?
Yeah, August
It's next-
11.
Next week.
Do we have a time?
All right, let's advertise that. 6 PM. Planning commission meeting with the city council in attendance. I don't know how you have to word it. I don't want to talk. I don't want to make any motions or anything like that. I just want to come listen, so.
It's just a presentation.
Right, so that's,
Voting.
exactly, yeah.
For some information, so
Okay.
that hopefully we can get ahead and get some
Yeah.
code in place for what's probably. Anything else?
Later.
No, thank you. Mr. Gubler.
Yeah, the only thing I really have is we did have some drainage problems down on Beach Street. Justin went down, but we're gonna put some more drop boxes in, try to capture more water. And Catherine's house got a little bit landscape flooded out, so we're gonna try to put some more catch basins in there to help the water before it gets to this place. We've gone ahead and poured the bases on that, we're gonna wash tomorrow, so hopefully within the week that'll be fixed. We did have some flooding down on Old Church. Most of the flooding, when looking at it, came down off the paved property, down off the field, more so than it did anywhere. Seeing people out there in the district level, the district is trying to bring all the cities together on a conservation, on a water conservative ordinance and actions recommended in our conservation ordinances and actions. Basically, things, they've dealt with the homeowners association, everybody's kind of on the same page. If we don't start conserving water, then all the building is literally going to swamp. And the home builders actually know that, so, if we continue to go, then we go to 250. But if we actually do conserve it, and all the cities work together and have the same type of ordinance in place for every city and everybody moving to get on page, the same page. They actually presented this to the mayors last week, I believe, at a meeting, and most all the mayors were willing to get on board. I think we're at that. But basically, they're just trying to have something that's in place that they can start conserving water, like the homeowners association says, we may be able to build 1,000 homes. Just increase our, if we all do it together, but if one city does it and the other city doesn't do it, some of the recommendations, hot water recirculating comes in the homes, instead of us getting in the shower, turning the water on, waiting for it to get running warm, going to it in, recirculating pumps. And these are all for new homes, not existing homes. Energy sense, toilets, Energy Star dishwasher, Energy Star and water sense regulations, they all meet that standard, try to conserve everything we can. AMI basically just to make the public aware that they're aware of their water on a daily basis, so they're not having to come in. Just water waste ordinances on the outside, things that we can do that the cities can enforce. District doesn't have a way to do that. And all the cities that have owners, they want to go out and start enforcing all that stuff. On the outside, like they want pool covers on the outside. I'm getting a lot of pools, a lot of good permits coming in right now for swimming pools. They said that's a huge, pools being put in without covers on. Basically, that's pretty much it. But they just have a lot of ideas. We have a meeting tomorrow. We're trying to get over it. They're working with the Home Builders Association as well as with the mayors, trying to get something at every city so they can bring to a countywide ordinance that everybody's going to enforce. And all the builders will do it all, so they don't do it one city and not do it the other. And the only way that most of the mayors want to participate is that everybody does it.
So they're going to draft up some kind of ordinance and then present it to different cities?
They're trying to squeeze it all out, and they're going to meet with the mayors, bring them all in. They're just trying to meet with everybody.
Yes.
Make everything
Okay.
work.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Page.
Yes. So we have been talking quite a bit about water conservation. I'll be attending a meeting conference in Moab about flooding. So maybe together we can balance it out. We're working on the Tocqueville City Facebook page, and that's signed to the city. So hopefully that can be transferred in the next day or two. We have a bunch of grants or grant opportunities. We'll talk more about the American Rescue Plan, and then we are just made aware of this Water Smart. There's 2 grants that are available, and the deadlines for applying for those grants are November and December. So those look promising to help us with a more reliable water source and help quantify savings of water. That's what those grants are for. We have some trainings and conferences that are coming up. Ruth is attending Utah Business Licensing Conference next week. I'll be attending a planning conference in September. You mentioned for the planning conference in November. And we have Utah League of Cities and Towns at the end of September. And Councilmember Williams is planning to attend. If anyone else would be interested, please let us know as soon as you can. We've been looking into office needs or an additional person or 2. The best thought we have so far is maybe having a little touch shed. portable office just up here on Judy's doors. That's all I have for right now.
Okay, thank you. The water grants, I want to talk to you about those a little later, but I need to know a little more about what those are. Okay, anything else?
I have a question. How did we arrive at the decision to come up with our own Facebook page for the city as opposed to the one that's being run by other citizens? What is our need to have our own Facebook page for the city? And who has to be on it? What kind of, restrictions and do we have to reply to everything that comes in on it?
So if I may answer, I think all we're asking them to do is take off the name city. It's a private one out there, but it says Tocqueville City, and it is misleading. If people think that that's something by the city, and this would be a Tocqueville community group or whatever. And then as to any other social media, we're talking about what we can do more to get the message out there, but that's the next step. The first step is to end that one that has, well, they can still go on with it, just don't, get rid of the name city on it. Let's just protect that. Okay, any other questions for Mr. Page? All right, let's go on then. The next item on our agenda is a presentation by Jason Bullock from Shums Coda and Associates.
I appreciate the opportunity. Hold it, okay. I appreciate the council's opportunity to introduce our company to you. I was approached a few weeks back by Lance. I'm Jason Bullock with Shums Coda Associates. We're a third-party consulting company that does building inspections and plan reviews. I put some slides together. We've got a regional office here in St. George. We're a Western States company. We've been around for 16 years now. But I want to just give a little background on myself. I started in 1993 at West Valley City. Went to work for Sunrise Engineering for 20 years, and then I've been with Shums Coda now for almost 3 years. Shums Coda started out in California, has come, we're in Arizona, Wyoming, Utah, Nevada, Colorado. We're almost 100-person firm now. But basically what we do, I just wanted to break down a little bit. I'll just give a little background. To come in, what we do is we come in, we try to help cities out as far as if they're understaffed, if they get large projects that are possibly coming in. We're sort of the crutch to the city, and the city can either hire us directly or we can work multiple contracts, through either the developer. The new state law, I don't know if you're aware of that, but the new state law requires if a contractor brings in plans for a building, residential, the city has 14 days to issue that permit from the time coming in, approving it. If you can't get it approved, then they have to turn it over to the contractor. And I'm doing Hurricane City right now, and that's been the problem they had. They were almost 9 weeks out on their building permits. So I brought in a staff. I'm over there full to bring in 30, 40 plan checkers. I brought them up to speed in a matter of a week. So that's what we're sort of there for. I want to just, we've done a lot of large projects. Everybody asks our background. We've done work with Google. We've done work with NASA. I do a lot of multi-mixed residential, commercial projects. The NASA project and the Google project is just a something in its own, and it's a massive, eye-opening project. The Gateway Village is sort of, I think, and Matt and I have, I know what they're projecting to bring in. I'm guessing something like this is maybe what they're gonna bring in, housing, multi-units, something that's gonna be mass production. So we've done that type of projects. Did one in Palm Valley, Arizona. Basically, again, multi-story uses, mixed use occupancy. So as a city that is maybe a smaller staff city gets this mass production, residential, commercial, that they may not have the staff to provide the quality of inspection. When I went to Hurricane, that was sort of what was happening with them. They had basically 1.5 inspectors and just couldn't keep up with what was going on. And it's been very eye-opening for me to see what's happened with where some of the things that are allowed to go on. And not to throw the building inspector who just retired there under the bus, but he was just overwhelmed. I mean, he couldn't keep up with, when you're doing, 60 inspections a day, what kind of quality inspection are you get? So I mean, it's provided us. I have a staff down here. I have 5 full-time inspectors. All my guys are 8A certified with the commercial certified residential. In addition to me, so we have 6 guys here locally in southern Utah, in St. George, Hurricane. So we have the staff to help. I can bring in additional staff. That's the nice thing. We work with a developer or with a builder. If they have architects that do electronic, if they can send me electronics, I can do electronic plan reviews and turn them around in residential. I turn around in 3 days right now for them. So instead of sitting there for 6 weeks, I can turn it around in a short amount of time. We do provide for cities large projects. We will dedicate an inspector to that site. So if you get, say, a large townhome project or a large apartment complex, I can dedicate an inspector to that site. So they're dealing with the same guy, so they know who that is. This is just some more of our projects that we've done, large uses here. I've actually, I just jumped through because I know I only have 10 minutes. So, here, if you go into our LinkedIn page, it basically can give you a background of our entire company, staff members. We just acquired a gentleman named Steve Thomas that has been teaching code for probably 35 years, and he's in Colorado, known throughout the Western, known nationally. But he just added that much more to our staff. He brought on some energy gurus for us, and it's what I have at my fingertips. Other companies, and probably not even cities, have at their fingertips. I have structural engineers that have dealt with all kinds of different projects that you may not have seen. I have mechanical engineers, so I can get questions answered on larger projects. Okay? But again, I want to just thank you for the opportunity to introduce ourselves. If you have any questions.
Any questions? Do you have a reference sheet, some of your clients?
I do, and that is actually, I can get that. I didn't put it in the slideshow, but I've actually, if you go to our page, it's got all of our references. I can get you, I've actually got some SOQs that will have references on them, so I have no problem getting you a reference sheet on that.
And there was no fee sheet in no fee sheet in your presentation either.
What I do on the fee proposal is I mean, just a sort of an introduction to you right now. I introduced the company. I like to come in because there's multiple ways on fee sheets. I've done things for cities where I take a percentage of their permitting, of their building permit fee. It just depends, like Hurricane City was on a 1988 fee schedule. So they were quite a way, I mean, it was $47 a square foot for a house right now. And I'm like, wow, so I'd like to build for $47 a square foot. So I mean, they just hadn't updated some of their fee schedules. So that's where I went in and tried to help them at least bring it up to a current standard. You know, with what either Washington City or St. George City, bring it up to at least a current standard. You know, if you're providing the service, then at least collect the fee for the service. So that was my approach on that. I provided an hourly fee schedule that I can provide to the city. I mean, I can have something to you by your next city council meeting, or I can have it, you know, if you need it sooner, I can get it to you sooner. But I try to go in and work it out.
Currently, for plan review fees, we have a flat fee for single-family residential, swimming pools, and accessory buildings. On commercial or multifamily, that is on a per project basis, which we would go to a company like yours and ask, here's the plans, what it was, your fee going to be for this, so things different. Are you going to do some sort of proposal where there is a flat fee for single-family residential?
I do that. I've done that before I do a lot up north for just a residential, a flat fee. And it's anywhere, depending on what the fee is, anywhere from $200 to $500 a residential family fee. But then I turn them around, like I say, in 3 days, 3 or 4 days. So that's typically what I'm at with that. Commercial, a little different, obviously. We try to work, you know, we'll either do it on an hourly basis, and it all depends on if the complexity of the commercial project, if I have to bring in my structural engineer to also do, because my structural engineer is not a designer, he's actually a code reviewer. That's his expertise. So if I bring in my fire protection engineer, my structural engineer, it just depends on the size of the complexity of the commercial project.
So if we had a set of plans coming from the hotel, and we did review, we send it over to you, can you give us I would assume the developer would want to not agree to a blank check on how much they're going to pay, because that cost is passed on to them. Do you do a quick review and give an estimate of cost or a fixed?
I can base it off of like a valuation for whatever, if they bring in a valuation, I have sort of a set standard that I work off on something like that was a 1997 UBC, which is Uniform Building Code, that I base that off of. It's probably the best one that we have in Utah that we can draw from, if that makes sense. But I'll do a valuation off that and then provide that back to the city and say, okay, city, your building permit should be X amount of dollars. You should be charging 65% of the building permit fee. And then I will do it for a percentage of the plan review. But the city still has to, you've got your administrative costs and things like that, so you still have to collect that fee. So depending on the size of the structure, it could be anywhere from 45 to 65% of that 65% plan check fee. That's great.
Anybody else? Thank you.
I
Appreciate your time.
Thank you.
All right, let's go to our next agenda item. It's our public forum. This is where anyone can step in to the microphone and speak if they would like. Like to limit your time to 3 minutes per person. And when you do go to the mic, please state your name and your address.
Gene Wilder, page 160 West Economy, and you know why I'm here. They say that speaking real needs to be greased. So I want to remind you that we asked by 7 families who live on that little stretch of road. So it's not just me, but there are 7 families who feel like they're being treated like second-class citizens because of this gross neglect. The city has not spent any money at all on the street. The except for the sewer, the rest of the tanks are going away. But we still have a rough, dirty, dusty gravel. And that's the only way we can get into our home is over that rough, dirty gravel lane. And you can't walk on it. And I just get here and try to do everything else. At least a decent road to get into our home. And that's fundamental, not very decent. Half of those state families are senior citizens, old. And me, I can get around, except I'm walking. I can't get out of my house without driving a car. So, I asked about this several times. I've only heard back that it can't be done in this year's budget. I don't know when next year's budget starts.
So July, our fiscal year is July 1st, but I know there's been talk of taking care of that. So, but Councilman Bringhurst is the one that oversees that. So, and he's not here today. So we're not going to have any information for you, but I know I've had conversations with him personally about it. Yeah, they're working to get it done as soon as possible, and hopefully soon, not later.
Well, I really appreciate that, because several people said, if you wait for the latter end of the year, they said, well, we're out of money, maybe next year. And that's
Yep.
just,
Yeah.
uh,
But your request has not gone or hasn't fallen on deaf ears. The city's heard about it, and we're doing what we can to get out there and make that happen.
really, sincerely, I appreciate it. The only thing I haven't mentioned before is we do not want curb and gutter and sidewalk. That's a great expense. It's a big thing, it's rural.
Right.
We've been trying to protect since Brigham Young time, way before we leave the city. And I realize there are two laws that may have to be twisted down or whatever. But we definitely do not want curb and gutter and sidewalk. We just want some.
Okay. We appreciate your patience. Thank you. Anyone else?
Anita Eaton, South Ash Creek Drive, but that's not where we're talking about. So there was some flooding that happened to homes that were on Old Church that Lance discussed and somebody else mentioned as well. Those homes, just as a reminder, if you look at the flood FEMA maps, are in the floodplain. And one of the residents came and contacted me to entertain my family on property and felt that we were responsible for any damage that might be done to their yard due to water that came across our yard. So if that's the rule, across that field, if that's the rule, then the BLM is responsible for all of the damage that's done to the water in the sewer district, which the water from the sewer district came across the road to ours. So anyway, my comment is that I hope that the city encourages individuals whose homes have been built below level, like the one on Peachtree, below grade, or that those that live in floodplains, that they actually mitigate some of their own problem, especially when it is a natural rainfall. We do have a ditch that we've dug for years. That's to capture water if we happen to have pressurized irrigation. One of our 4-inch valves break and we don't know about it. And so that takes the water all back to the creek. But when you have 2 inches of rainfall that comes off of multiple areas and all concentrates in one. So all that water that came across SR 17, the bottom of the S curve or on the way from curb to curb, actually came across our property. And so any water that was on ours as well actually went into ours, which I hope that the individual is happy that we actually had it planted field as opposed to desert landscape, because otherwise it's a situation that they're worse. So that is it.
Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, let's move on now to our working agenda. We're going to begin with item 4 rather than item 1. Who is ready to talk to us about this one?
Attorney knows more about it. It's pretty simple.
Well, yeah, happy to give you a little bit of background on this and get to the item. We have it up. So, currently, our ordinance talks about how we would go about reviewing and approving a lot line adjustment done between two adjacent property owners. And for some reason, it allows it to occur in both a platted subdivision and in unplatted parcels. And my suggestion has been that we need to not have it allowed in platted subdivisions that they have to go through the plat amendment process. So what we've done is taken that out of 1019G2 out of A, where it says either a meets and bounds description or a recorded plat. We deleted that portion. And then we've included a new section called 1019G3. It says owners of record of adjacent parcels that are part of a recorded plat may exchange title to portions of those parcels by following the procedure outlined in 1019C4F of this code, which is going with plat amendment. So that's pretty simple.
Okay, and as I understand, this is because the state passed some laws for the county recorder's office, and so the county recorder's office is now saying, city, you got to update your code. All right, thank you. Let's go on to the next item.
Blair, just got a question.
We've got a lot here on Peachtree. And the owner came in to build on that lot just the other day. And our easement is right where it should be, but it happens to be 20 feet out into the lot. So the sewer line is 20 feet out into the lot, which, because the lot is like this, shaped like a wedge, means they have to move their house clear back in. The problem lies is sometime in the past, the lot line was moved. And that put it off the lot line instead of being on the lot line, now it's up in the property. And they're having real heartaches with that, along with the contractor.
Yeah, how things were done in the past, I don't completely know, can't speak of, but if they were to come now through the process, there would have to be a formal a map, a record of survey prepared. It would come and be approved. We would obviously have people like the sewer district here present that could look to that to see if there was any issues with existing easements. It becomes even more so in a platted subdivision.
So they, under this current ordinance, you got it.
Yeah.
That's where it's at. Under the current ordinance, as proposed, they wouldn't be able to adjust their lot lines without coming to the city and going through the process.
In fact, I can tell you right now, the county recorder's office won't even record it. They're already making it kickback. All we're doing here is kind of backing up and saying we need to make our code mirror what's at the state, so the county recorder's office record it.
Please go get a surveyor. He'd come give them a legal description of just a piece they want to trade, and one would just record a deed using that legal description. Boom, the city wouldn't know about it. You wouldn't know about it now. It has to be a record, a survey. We have a process now that it has to contain. It has to be approved by us. There's even more details. You're going to be.
The builder has a lot of problems with this because of it being off the property. And I can see what the problem is, but when they shot the legal description out, it was right exactly where the legal description said it should be. So,
All right, let's go on to item number 2. I'm sorry, it's number 1, actually. Discussion of resolution 2021.XX Constitution Week. Who would like to speak on this one?
Well, I do believe this is we do this every year. We talk about the Constitution. We uphold the Constitution in our community. So.
All right.
Thank you.
Copy of the resolution. That's right.
All right, let's go to our next item. Gordon Dotson for nightly rental located at 1267 South Shadow Lane, tax ID number T-115-E-1. Zoning is ag, and the planning commission recommend approval 5-0. Anybody have any questions or concerns? And are you here to answer questions?
Yeah,
Yeah.
if I recall, did we have an issue with the fact that the owner wasn't going to be present?
He
So-
was planning on opening up while he's living here, and when he does go, he'll close it back up.
Okay, so you talked to your son about that, and he's
He's good with
okay
that.
with it and
And
everything?
he may not be going out anymore.
Okay,
He's tired of doing it, so this might be his last summer.
okay, but he didn't know the ordinance originally, he knows it now, and
Yes.
he's okay.
Any other questions, concerns? All right. On Truth and Tech, held on August 17, 2021. Who wants to speak to this one? Kent, do you want to speak to this one? So if you don't mind, let me do just a little bit of background for those that are here. Utah Code has this unique feature that I do not understand at all. I think it's a horrible statute, but if a city or county is going to increase taxes, they have to do truth in taxation. Because when we do our budgets, we get a dollar amount, a set dollar amount. It's not based on number of residents, it's based on the dollar amount. And if our city has 700 homes and we grow to 1,500 homes, the amount of tax we get still stays at 700. It doesn't grow. So in order to have that base grow, we have to do what's called a truth in taxation every year. So that's what this is about. We started this last year to expand so that we could have taxes sufficient to cover the growing demands and needs of our city. So this is the next step on that for this year's. So leave it at that. There you go.
So I'm not sure if I have anything like to add to what you just described. So I always encourage public to attend, to voice their comments, questions, concerns, so we can all make the best decision for the best good of the city. And again, that will be on August 17th, Tuesday at 6 o'clock right here.
And Dana, we have available for any residents who are interested, they can come into the city offices and give them a copy of the tentative budget, the proposed mill rate and those things. Yeah.
So all the residents receive tax information from the county in the mail. It showed them what the proposed tax rate's gonna be. It's an average of about $23 or something annually for a $300,000 home. So I don't think that's gonna create a problem like we had last year with the sizable rate that we went up. But I'm concerned about us meeting and changing that number that they've already been set to. And I don't know if that needs to be done or not.
And I don't know the answer to that either. I thought that the notice that was sent out,
So it's not a final tax bill.
Right. It's not a final.
Modification. Subject to modification if you choose. We decided we can always go up from there in our meeting on the 17th.
Yeah.
The meeting on the
That's
17th.
what, yeah, I'm concerned about, is everyone looking at that number, thinking that I'm okay with that, and then they get their tax bill, and then they're surprised if we turn around and raise it too much. I'd like to, make sure that if the number's good, we go with that number and try to avoid raising it. And looking for ways that we might be able to cut some expenses, so that way we don't have our residents feeling like we've betrayed them.
Absolutely.
The way that I think you can do this, and I've seen it, if we have a proposed budget and we think, okay, we've got to have this much money necessary, you can contact the county, and they can give you an estimated mill rate, so that at the hearing, you could say, okay, I know you already got your closed tax bill, but take your valuation as they concerned and use this mill rate to calculate what it's going to be. It won't, if you're a $300,000 house, you're thinking it's going to be $23, it's actually going to be $25.64 based off of the new mill rate. So it'd be helpful to get an estimated mill rate.
Yeah, if you guys give me an indication of what you want, how much you want to increase.
Okay.
We should have
Well, yeah, we do. I mean, with this, right? This is what the county gives us, but I think Gary's concern is that we don't want to, right, if we go up, if that's what everyone knows about, and then we get to our meeting and it's actually going to be a little more than that, well, that's a problem. That's your concern, right? And yeah, it is a problem. The only thing we can say is we follow notice requirements of the code, and everybody does their part, and we do our very best to stick to that. The final budget, though, isn't going to be adopted until that meeting on August 17th, and that's the purpose of that meeting. Anything before is just preparatory. The following, yeah, sorry, yeah, but that's when it'll be discussed, and then, yeah, you're correct. It's not formally adopted till next. So, okay, any other questions, concerns?
If we decide to go up, we just need to make sure we have, our ducks in a row, make sure we can quantify it. So that way, when the public approaches us and challenges us as to why it's going up higher, then we have a good answer for them.
Yeah, and I don't want it to go higher. I mean, I hate taxes. I don't want to pay more tax than I have to pay, right? And whatever we agree upon, I got to pay too, just like you guys do.
I
So,
think this number is very reasonable. I think it's going to be accepted by the general public, and we should be okay.
okay, let's go to our next item, which would be actually item number 5 now, correct? We've gone over 4. Item 5 is discussion on the August 18th, 2021 primary election canvass. I can just speak to that briefly, that is when we will actually have, it's be August 18th at our standard meeting. That's when we'll have the election results, and then we will provide we'll either vote to accept them or not accept, but hopefully we'll accept. And then that will narrow it down to 4 candidates for city council, and then we'll go on to the final election. Any other questions, thoughts? All right, let's move on now to number 6, discussion of expenditure of American Rescue Plan funds. Kent?
So this year we have about $102,000. Next year we anticipate about the same $102,000. The state has been working well some criteria, how they would rate certain proposals. We were expecting that about 2 weeks ago. So far we've heard they come from the state, what their rate proposals are. But we're talking amongst ourselves as staff, whether we receive the greatest bang for the buck, what we most need of. Lance has suggested some ideas, generators for the water tank, so how we can go out and have some backup. Supply of water.
And for those who aren't aware, the purpose, this is pandemic related, and we've received, the city can receive funds when it, to help with coping with the pandemic that it causes on the city as well. It causes city stress, and in addition to that, it's to provide funds for the cities to be able to better service the community. And for example, part of the funds that we use this year is that camera over there and the YouTube account so that more members of the public can see the meetings, can see what's going on and be informed. And then there's some other things as well that they've been spent on, but it's all laid out in our, we have to lay it out for the state in order to qualify for the funds. And then we have to show the state that we actually did spend it on those that we applied for.
So all of our needs go not from here to Washington, they go through the state first for their screening and approval.
Correct.
And now this is different than the national one that they're working on now. That'll be an entirely different program. But okay, any other questions or concerns?
So just putting together a list of what we're going to be needing.
Yes, we appreciate your input, your discussion of needs that we see in the community, prioritizing those needs.
What kind of criteria do we have to use? I mean, what can we use the money for? I got lots of ideas where we can spend it, but what can I get away with? That's what I want to know, Could we use it
Can use
to,
it for standard budget items.
Right.
You can make the
what about
standard budget.
improving park, a city, new toilets for City Park?
New toilets for City Park, anything that's COVID related, and campus fixtures for all the parks. Generator, like I said, for Springs Drive, because the power goes out, the water has to pump up to the main tank in order for us to get water. So those are things that, we set a generator there, so we have a backup. Has to have to deal with the supply.
Now, this was what last go round's criteria were. We're still waiting from the state to hear what the next round of criteria will be. And it could be a little different, but basically you need to show that it's, yeah. And it's,
pretty, to be honest with you, it's pretty limited. There, pro Dems decide on it, they get it approved through the city council. The funds have already been approved. So they're sitting in our account waiting for us to decide. What you don't spend, you give back to the state. They'll send it, so.
yeah. Well, I think we can find ways to spend that for our community. It's to benefit our community. If we can't find ways to benefit the community, then we had not be up here. All right, let's go on. Next item is number 7, discussion on expenditure approval in the amount of $8,000 for the purchase of iWork, or is it iWorkQ?
Yeah, iWorks.
iWorks software program.
Basically, on this particular unit, it's a public works program. Basically, does roads, your water, infrastructure, GIS is all water meters. Something happens to be one of the staff, at least we have a program where it's all into a program, makes it a lot more friendly user, so that our guys can find all the things that need. It actually prorates all of your GIS coordinates for water valves and everything that has to be tested, and how long you tested it the last time they were tested. But basically, it's a big spreadsheet, but this is instead of reinventing the wheel and creating your own spreadsheet, it's already created for you. It does roads, it does water lines, it does parks.
All assets?
All assets, your parks, how old they are, like Justin's aware, Coca-Cola City Park was, what, it's almost 20 years old, and some of those playgrounds are just, the ball department gotta be replaced, and it just keeps us up. We get so caught up in everyday things that we forget about the regular maintenance and going in and, we lost our park inspector as far as recreational, check all the playgrounds. You gotta do things like that, you gotta stay up on top of your infrastructure. Sometimes it just gets lost. With this particular product like this, it tracks, your code enforcement, your licensing, your fleet management, your capital assets, your pavement, your permitting, FEMA things, your sewer, your signs. Anything the state asks us to do, we can bring it right up, and it has backflow prevention. It's a big thing right now with us, work management, citizen engagement. When they call, they can get right on this program, and it just creates a work order. Our guys are.
Is this easy, you guys can get into and access it? It's easy for them to,
Everybody has it, it's through the smartphone like everything else is going through. It's supposed to be notified, they get notified, they be able to do it. The biggest thing with this is like anything else, Justin, it's a matter of how we put it in. And
Right.
and
yeah, garbage in, garbage out, but
we
if
have
we,
somebody that feed it, it'll feed us, but
Yeah,
we
so-
don't feed it, it's just gonna be. So
right, do we
that's a
have,
problem
that's,
right now.
who do we have to feed it?
Right now, that's our biggest thing.
Okay, so if we spend the money on the program, or is it, we buy it now and feed it in 6 months? Or do we find someone to feed it and then buy the program?
That's it. We're looking at that with staff and talking to the mayor pro tem about things that we're gonna have to. This is part of your truth in taxation. What did we actually budget for back in April? Did we budget for a new employee? Did we budget for growth? Did we budget for things? And we did not. We basically budgeted on last year's budget. We didn't project where we're gonna go, what's coming, it's all things happen. It's just things that we don't see. The 5 months later, your eyes are a little bit more open. We may need a little bit more funds than what we projected. So that's the neat thing about the taxation. It does allow you guys to readjust if needs be. It doesn't have to be, but there are things that come up that, have to be addressed.
So it'll track assets, all assets of the city and their life expectancy and give you an idea of when things need to be maintained or replaced.
I'll give you an idea. Just this week alone, our little dump truck, our Chevy dump truck, transmission went out 2 weeks ago. That cost us $50,500. The backhoe out here just started locking up, the brakes locked up. They have to put a computer in. That cost us $6,000. So all of a sudden, we just spent $12,000 in vehicle expenses normally a month into the year. I mean, those are things that don't come up. They're just maintenance issues, and they just happen. But you know what? You get working, you forget about, that.
And so this program would have outlined, you can expect these kind of expenditures on these that are projected out.
Like right now, we're looking at putting a new pond road, putting a water line up there. It's 25 years old. Water line has a 40-year life. Well, we're looking at putting a new road on top of it. But because we're aware of it, and this program would let us, some of these other people would come in, if they weren't here, they wouldn't know. The developers will talk to us now. But, we're throwing a new road on top of that in 10 years. The road blows out. Whose fault is that? It's just things like that. There's so much. Ash Creek, which is our oldest road in, water line in town, it needs to be replaced. We got new storm drain. We got to develop it. Old church, Choya. Choya was put in. We ended up going in and watching. All of these things have to be true.
And it'll also track the depreciation schedule, so we know what we should be putting away every year for depreciation.
And then every year I can print that off and say, hey, we haven't spent a lot of money on roads, or we haven't spent any money road. We haven't done anything with roads in the last 2 years. So at the end of last year, we had a little bit extra money, so we bought 20 ton crack seals, where we crack seals. Things like that, we just got to stay up on. But sometimes we get so busy doing everything else that we don't stay up on exercising our valves on a yearly basis. We haven't done that. Honestly, I haven't done that in 4 years. I tried. That's the reason we got the exerciser to do it every year. But you know what? It takes a lot of time. It takes manpower. The guys are just spread out. It is what it is. So,
Okay.
One thing that's kind of an important comment that the last mentioned, because we know this and we know what's underneath it, now we can respond to it as a developer partner in the city. Maybe we replace that whole run and with some of the tools that we're fortunate to have via PIC, we can find funding, we can actually replace that and use that line of work that's been there for 25 years. That can be part of some of the things that we contribute as far as development. So that's some of the discussion we've had with city staff.
So this is an annual renewal for $5,000 annually, too.
it is an annual.
I mean, if it works, I think it's great, but if we don't use it, it's just throwing money away. I mean, we've got to
Well, then you're
have all the
looking
tools,
at, possibly $30,000 person to.
right, to fill it in.
to
But stuff's not getting done, like his valves aren't getting done. I'd love to see a maintenance schedule for the parks. Filters get cleaned every 6 weeks or 8 weeks, and make sure the valves are running, make sure the sprinklers are actually sprinkling the spots. There's certain things that I'd love to see, that a guy in the morning shows up and he gets a work order. Oh, I have to do these today before I do my normal stuff. That's the stuff that we need to, that's not getting done, because the irons in the fire, the squeaky wheel, the whatever, we're not getting our maintenance stuff done.
I mean, it's almost like saying you gotta change your air filter every 3 months, okay?
Yeah.
But the thing about it is, in addition to the software, you've got someone that operates the software, we've got instructions now that all these things need to be done. Now you need the manpower to
do
actually do all the maintenance on top of it. So,
Yeah.
you know, right now, Lance can tell us a lot of things that he's got in his head that need to be done, and yet we don't have the money to allocate to even get it done. So I don't want software
And
that
that's,
tells us what we're not getting done.
but the problem is then we're spending more money fixing stuff. Things go bad, it costs us more money in the long run. If we would have hired somebody and maintained it, then we're not spending that fixed money later. You know, it's back to, are we getting enough on truth and taxation to cover the stuff to maintain what we have versus, hey, we should have fixed this 2 years ago. Now it's going to cost us $100,000 to fix instead of $1,500 to service over the last couple of years. So that's where it comes down to. But if we don't use it, if we don't have the program, you know, we don't have somebody to actually use the program, put it in, there's no point in spending the money. So.
Hurricane just is using iWorks. They just brought it on, and it incorporates building inspections, plan review, everything electronic. So they brought it in, and I think it's going to help them immensely in what they do. It tracks everything, building inspections, builders can schedule through it online. So pretty neat system.
Let's go back to your point, Councilman. You know, good data in, good data out.
Yeah.
Maybe one of the strategies is to reach out and find some internships. Where the colleges and the technologies, you can bring someone in on a short period of time, and that can be part of the credit for their college classes. That can go towards snow. It can help you through coaching, putting some good data that only landscape will. But yet, after that person's done with the data, then now you've got a staff on hand that can pull that data up and then refer to it as not going to be that much of a lift. Once that heavy lift of the data.
Right, once the data's in there, I think maintaining is gonna be a lot easier, but
So
we've
that's
got it,
an option.
yeah, perfect.
Okay, anything else?
Oh, the only thing I was just gonna say, similar to what Matt was saying, Hurricane City actually this year will do the high school to their senior career day because of the fact that they can't find employees. So they're going and literally going to the high school and asking the juniors, if you guys are willing to intern with us for a year, we will train you, we'll prepare you, and you can have a career with the city of Hurricane. I mean, you can't find employees, you can't find employers, people that want to work. And so they're literally, they started this program, I believe, this year, you know, going up through the high school, trying to get people that want to work.
And do you know the contact in Hurricane? The individual that's handling this? Yeah. Be nice to get the information from them as to what they allocated and how much they thought the actual net cost was going to be.
The other side of that coin on cost is we've been spitballing, the city has been spitballing how much we need to have for depreciation, and it's just been a rough estimate because the city has changed a whole lot, but in the future, that is not a wise way to handle. We don't have, I don't think we have a single list of every asset the city owns. I don't think there is one. I think it's in everybody's minds. He might know 70% and he might know 30%, but we don't have anything that lists all of our assets, so we can even depreciate those assets and know what our real expenditures can be predicted from year to year. We're just spitballing it, and that makes me incredibly uneasy going down the road. And so either we need to do something like iWorks, or we got to develop our own, and develop our own spreadsheet has a whole lot of cost to it as well, especially training new people once that person who created the spreadsheet is gone. And in the city, we have a lot of rollover of staff.
Silly question. Why don't we have a list of our assets for the city?
That's a great question, and I've asked that very poignantly, and that's part of what we're seeing here. This is in part response to that concern as well as other concerns.
I don't know how we do logistics, work schedules, and budgeting without knowing what we have.
That's just what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yep. Ken?
So the $8,000, that's for public works, that's for the first year. And we mentioned that there'd be $5,000 per year after. the new iWorks has a software program for building inspections and code compliance that's in addition to this public works. And that software program, it's a one-time fee of $3,500, and then $2,300, and then the annual subscription is $3,500. So for the first year, it's $5,800, and that's for building inspections and code compliance.
We can add those on at any time, right?
Right now, we're using City Inspector,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what City St. George uses everything. iWorks, they have their own
Version.
lot. You could add that on. So you get rid of one.
For right now, we're not talking about the expenditure. We're just focusing solely on,
And in all reality, this expenditure would be part of your program. But it still is a yearly expenditure. Because this is something we utilize to benefit the city, benefits all the way around.
Usually with these types of software programs, the annual renewal and maintenance or subscription fee provides you with some benefits too. It allows you, entitles you to any updates because the software developer is continually making tinkers, giving input, issuing new versions of the software. You're entitled to get the updated version, plus you're entitled to technical support. So if there's questions, how do we do this? We've got to be able to run this type of report. You call up their technical support line. They run you through it. And so between all those different types of things, it's
Our organization is a Utah-based company.
She came down and,
They did come down.
yeah, so,
We did have it.
yeah, it's been a while.
Are we using the building inspection software and how is it working?
That's a different brand.
CityWorks is actually, it's a different program, but it's actually been really nice as far as what I've been able to use.
What does that cost? Just comparison. I mean, you're already paying for one of those. I mean, okay. I'm just about a wash.
They were, they were actually really reasonable. The Oregon jumped on the bandwagon and everything, but there, to be honest with you, they're having some issues, but that's something.
let's go move forward. Number 8, a discussion on on a new ordinance adopted in 2021, the International Building Code for Tiny Homes, 2021 International Code Council Residential Valuation.
Building waivers.
Yeah, what is
So
that?
some different codes for tiny
Code Council Residential Building Valuation, is that right?
Yeah, so we have a title in the Tocqueville City Code, Title 9, which is building and construction. It's only a couple of sections long, but 9.1.2 is the section where we adopt. And the last time it was done, we were adopting the 2012 version of most of the uniform codes, building and safety codes that are promulgated by the International Code Council. What the discussion was, we started to look, to try to figure out, we had a situation where we had proposals coming in about these tiny homes, whether they're going to be fabricated on site or off site, brought in, whether it was what type of code we would utilize. And we got looking at this, and what we've done is the request was for our office to modify this. We've subtracted out any reference to the actual year of the or version edition of the code, and we indicate that what we are doing is we are following the current version that is adopted by the state of Utah under the Construction and Fire Code Act, I think is what it's called, the Utah Act. And so they adopt those, and it says that we adopt all the appendices with any state-specific iterations, because sometimes they adopt one of these uniform codes, but they make some small modifications that they think are relevant for Utah. So we go through and we do that. You will see that there is a section in there that deals with, in addition to the codes, the kind of standard ones that are adopted, promulgated by the International Code Council. You've got in 9 and 10, these are talking about the versions that this is federal law, or the National Fire Protection Association has put out these standards for model manufactured homes and for manufactured housing. That's 9 and 10. So that's how we would deal with these prefabbed tiny houses.
So they'll all be included under our new.
It would be. The last thing that we had the discussion about was standalone. It's not an appendice. It's a little bit of a misconception. Standalone, separate from the International Building Code, is the International Code Council building valuation data, which is it is a spreadsheet that they update every 6 months. They do it in February and August of every month, and you can go online and you can grab it. I had sent to Dana a version of it so that you guys can see, but it is the calculation methodology on how we would calculate our building permit fees. We're going to talk about that in the resolution of the uniform fee schedule, because it's pretty clear we charge a plan check fee, but we also charge a building permit fee, and that fee goes to help pay for staff and administration and for inspections. So this is a copy that you can see up here. If you go to the next page, Dana, that right there, you can go right to it. You can come down to single family residential, and it'll tell you a price per square foot. And I will tell you, it's considerably more than $47 a square foot. I think it's like 166 if I saw it correctly. But it's reflective of that. What we had been talking about is we were using an old set version of this from back 2012, plus we were only charging 65% of it, and we were like, why? I mean, we have this cost, or why are we subsidizing the costs of inspection and staff administration? I mean, some of the money that can be generated from our building permit fees could be paying for this, the iWorks slice for building that tracks it all and gives us reports, and okay, here's your 3 inspection tickets to go out and do and everything like that. So the direction that I got from the council last meeting was we want to officially adopt the current version of the International Code Council's valuation data, and that we calculated off of 100% of that. So that's what this attempts to do.
Now, we've got the word international going on here. This table here, is that an international table, or is that for a particular region or state?
So up at the top, I believe, is the green line. No, go down to the second page. Green line, I think that green, there's different columns, and I think there might be some regions or something to have.
International building.
This guy's the expert on this.
So it is an international code, but the green across the top there is the types of construction. So like a 5B is going to be a wood frame construction, 5A would be a type 1 hour construction. So those are the types of construction, like you get down to 1 and 2, that's going to be more like a masonry building.
I'm wondering if San Francisco and Tokerville are going to have the same rates.
If they're going off that fee schedule right there, they are. I mean, that's an actual international. I mean, most jurisdictions, if they're going off of the international code, which is a national code right there, that's what our IRC is. I mean, it's International Residential Code. So ICC gives us, this is what they provide for building departments to go off of. This is standard.
There's not a region modification or modifier of any sort.
It's the average.
The way you used to back in the day, the way you would, every contractor, and Justin never did this, I'm sure, is on your building permit application, you lowball the valuation of the house that you're building, so you pay the least amount of permit fee possible. And now it's just a matter of what's the square footage, what's the type of construction, here's the price per square foot, here's your fee, so that Justin can't lowball.
I would never.
That's why you get out of business. So anyway, why did we only charge 65%?
It was a decision made by council many moons ago. We don't necessarily know why, but as we got talking about this, we saw that last meeting and said, okay, while you're correcting this, Heath, and making it kind of like, let's keep up with the most current technology and standards for safety inspections and building inspections. Let's not stick 9 years in the past. We saw this issue also, and so we're dealing with it too.
So do we know what Hurricane or some of the other cities around? What,
I think, Councilman, that's why the movement with percentages, this is the 100%. You look at what's happening in your region, and you have the ability as a governing body
to say,
what percentage of this international.
That's a great point.
So that's up to us to decide. There's not some standard for West, Midwest, East.
You often hear people say cost of construction in the Midwest is cheaper than on the coast and stuff like that. Maybe they are going a percentage of that figure.
So sort of, if I can just jump in, sort of a standard for UTAH is gonna be like a 0.85%. Is what they're gonna do that.
What you see around.
And that's sort of a standard.
So
I didn't see
85%, 0.85.
of that, yeah.
Okay.
Matt didn't smile though when he heard that number.
Well,
oh, it's better than 100%.
yeah. Yeah, so we should probably keep that in mind in our discussion.
Yeah,
I mean, when
absolutely.
we vote next week or 2 weeks.
This.
Yeah. We're talking about, I think,
That's
point.
1.12%.
There, now we're talking the way Tocqueville things, right? All right, let's go to our next item. Number 9, this is discussion on a resolution for a uniform fee schedule, residential building valuation.
That's what we're just talking
And that's covered there, right?
Yeah, if you'll get into that, you'll see my red. Okay, so we didn't have previously some of the plan review fees put in there. So now you can see that I've got a heading for building permit fees and plan review fees. And then they're broken down in subcategories of residential, commercial, industrial, or swimming pool. Plan review fees, we have residential, single family, detached only. Then we have commercial, industrial, including multifamily with swimming pools and accessory buildings. Some of those I had to call Dana today and say, okay, what are those fees? What are we charging? She had to pull some, so we didn't have it standardized in our, and so that's what we're doing. You can see I put the language in there. It's based on the ICC's valuation of that on both of those. Let me ask this expert, should we have solar? Okay.
And it just depends on the city. I mean, every city varies on the percentage, like the accessory building.
Yeah.
That, I just had one in another city that I did work in, and it was a 40,000 square foot.
Yeah, that's.
So, I mean, we typically will go off of like a valuation on that also. Because
Okay.
back in that previous chart, it
Yeah.
didn't give you that opportunity on that.
Okay,
So that's something you may want to.
that's a
look
great
at.
point. I don't know how much variation you can get swimming pools possibly, but accessory buildings, I like that. He's suggesting that we go off of the building valuation data for accessory buildings, because you can have all sorts of different accessory buildings.
We also have a massive swimming complex, maybe,
Yeah.
that would need some serious plan review.
That to me would be a commercial
Right, not a residential.
structure. If it was a.
Yeah, and that's,
Yeah.
you see some of these res, I just did one plan review on one the other day, it was $290,000.
My partner who runs our city office, he built a big pool with a lazy river all the way around it.
So it's like a commercial.
And all the neighbors want to go and play at his house.
So any other comments or concerns on this one?
So solar, you want, I mean, if somebody wants to add solar to their home, that's a permit. They got to come in and get a building permit for that.
But it's an interesting point because oftentimes you have to look at structural.
There's a lot of detail in our solar.
Then you think
As far as the
whether
electrical.
you're compare the load and stuff
You
like
might be able just to include up to a certain square footage or a certain cubic feet for pools, and square footage for.
that. Single family
Or
buildings.
something, and then over that, it goes to a special square foot price.
So I threw this out here just so that we can have some
Right.
discussion. on it. That's what came
And a
from
lot of
this.
these flat rate prices, which you bought in Casa there is based upon what we did previously.
Well, yeah, like John would tell us, I'll do every house for $200
So we gotta
and I'll
compare
do a
this to see
swimming pool for.
You know, what we charge our neighbors.
I don't know if we'd be ready to vote on this next week.
right?
Just the
Or we can
accessory
vote
building,
on-
yeah, the accessory building thing, is that, you suggested
Just take
working
that
on
language.
valuation?
No, that language that's up above for
Yeah,
residential.
based on current building evaluation.
Yeah, just plug that in right
Okay.
there instead of
All
saying
right.
$100 flat fee.
Right, and then can we add solar to that, and we might possibly be able to vote?
Or we can vote on that and add solar the next month if we're not ready yet, but.
I just shouldn't get it added. Yeah, we got 2 weeks to work on it.
Okay. All right, any other discussions on this one? All right, let's move on to number 10. A discussion on ordinance with the Washington County Water Conservancy District landscape design, landscape ordinance requirements.
Okay, so this one stemmed from our meeting last month when we were given a copy of proposed landscape standards that were suggested, a proposed ordinance from the Washington County Water Conservancy District. And I had indicated, I said, I know we've got some landscaping standards, but have to see if there's a lot of variance between the two. Frankly, I was amazed at how little we do have in landscaping standards. And so what I did was I took a few things out, but a lot of this is the districts. There is a breakdown for residential landscaping and commercial landscaping standards, and then for irrigation system standards. Like, you know, if there's not going to be any sort of turf, that everything needs to be done by drip, and those types of things. And you can look at it and see, is this way too detailed for Cokerville? It's very conservation friendly.
Yeah,
I
that's
will
what
tell
I'm
you
worried
that.
about. Yeah.
So this is one where I said, look,
This
I
is
don't
some
wanna
new
superimpose-
construction,
I don't
right?
want to, yeah, this is all new construction. I don't want to superimpose my opinion for on some of this stuff for what the council says. That's, you guys are the elected officials, so I'm like, well, okay, I'll put it in form how it would be if you guys look at this and say, we don't want this requirement, and then that's what you need to be prepared for next.
Now, we had an earlier discussion about the need to have all the cities on the same page doing the same thing. Is this the document that they want every city to do?
This is one of them, but they want us to do even more than just this. This is just on the aspect of landscaping. When I looked at what Lance sent over to all of us in an email, I'm requiring all new construction to have hot water recirculation pumps in them, so that people don't sit there and run their water for 10 minutes before they get hot water to the far end of the house. Those things aren't having to do with landscaping. And so they're asking us, these are some of the stuff come down the road, and maybe we do need to listen to them. I'm guessing that the Conservancy District, at least what I'm seeing of this new management regime, is that they're getting more progressive in like, here's a draft ordinance, here's some verbiage, you guys. This is how we're gonna get some uniformity out there, and they're taking that initiative. This is the first one that they've done. This is landscaping and landscape irrigation.
Okay, so if we hack this up, we're not going to be in
Yeah,
performance with the other cities.
And I would tell you that is about 95% of their ordinance. Just some things that weren't either relevant or just seemed to surplus. Because I'm sitting there thinking, I'm looking at this from how do I slot this into our codified ordinances? Under what section does it go? I don't need this part up here that talks about all the different purposes and stuff like that. I'm going to say standards, standards, and standards. And that's what I've done. So the meat and potatoes, 95% of it is exactly as they believe it.
Ken?
Talking with Zach, one of the reasons that he suggested we both with these greater standards is that as a lake, how a pipeline goes along will be more and more scrutinized how we're using our existing water. So if we are showing that we are being conservative of our water right now, the greater likelihood or less opposition we might find with the lake pipeline. But if we are being wasteful, there's just more opportunity for the critics to say, look, they don't need this there, the water price was there.
Any other comments, questions for our next meeting? Okay, let's go on our next item, which would be number 11, discussion on ordinance 77 cemetery. Who put this together?
Nathan went through this and put this together. Basically, it used to say, Ruth, I'm sorry, but it just added, got rid of the mayor, made it mayor the cemetery superintendent, talking about the floral pieces, how long they can stay on there, they can be on the headstone, or not off the headstone, if they're off the headstone, they will be removed. Basically, just cleaning up some of the little things that we had. We just kind of want to look through it. You guys look through it, you can see what you redline, and what she added.
And to the financing, we're still financing.
Before, when we were told by our previous treasurer.
You could
we
pay
will
for your
not-
burial plot.
We did not. We actually had.
What happens
it's in
if you
there.
die?
It's actually-
Very happy, yeah.
Do we forgive them of the remaining two payments if they die?
So, as you go through that, you'll be able to look at it if you have any questions. So.
I'd like to commend you guys on what you did with this ordinance, because there was a little bit of a dust up after Memorial Day about some things that went on at the cemetery, a lot of feedback over social media on that. And I think that this is a perfect example of us responding to the concerns of the citizens of the town. So glad to see it.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to our next item here, which is item number 12, discussion on policy and procedures for employee cell phone policy.
This was all triggered by grandma requests.
Kent, you want to give us a little background?
Sure. In my review of this, it all seems pretty commonplace from what I've seen from other jurisdictions. Ruth did quite a bit of research and looking at other municipalities. The only other question would be the reimbursement, like $10 per month or $25 per month. When I was in Will County, we were reimbursed that $50 per month. So maybe cell phone coverages, plans have increased since then, so maybe this is just fine. That's the only question I really have, is how much is reasonable for reimbursement.
Okay,
Does this include the planning commission and or city council?
no, this is just employees.
Yeah, this is
Yeah.
administrative policy for employees of the city, so it's not
Nice
land
try.
use related, doesn't go to.
Yeah, and it's not in format, it's for discussion on it, and we really do want to be careful for the elected officials. We'll talk about that in another month or two. That'll be a entirely different one, but here where we got to be cautious.
That could be a training that in and of itself,
Yeah.
based on some recent litigation. This is a pretty straight.
So the question we really want to know is, do we want to have a policy in place for employees? That's the real question. And these are some ideas that Ruth pulled together. It's not in format yet. I think what we're going to do before at our next meeting is to decide whether we want to adopt something, and if so, some guidance, and then that'll be the end. Okay. All right, let's go to our next item, number 13, discussion on nightly rental enforcement software.
So, yeah, there's been some discussion about that there's a number of night rentals that are operating unregistered or illegally. We have this company called Granicus. They have quite a few software applications for municipalities, and one is a tracking of the short-term rentals. They're going to come to a presentation. They have a calculator we can utilize to see if it's cost beneficial to go through their
Yeah, so I'm wondering if the program's $10,000 a year, we only save $1,500 in revenue, then it's not worth it.
Is it code enforcement in general type software, or just nightly rental tracking?
This is particularly for nightly rental, but they have other software like this too.
Well, the one we just looked at, that iWorks has code enforcement and stuff, so I just,
This particular one is for nightly rentals. Basically, they track any nightly rentals you have happening in the community. You know, like right now, we have, I think, 19 official ones, but according to them, we have like 37.
But I think.
So it's doing the software does regular searches of all the different nightly rental platforms. If it pulls a hit on like an address that's a Tokerville address, it will.
It notifies you, it tells you when they're renting it out, when they're not renting it out. So basically, you can actually, it helps you with
Go to
budgeting
the
the end of the
enforcement
year.
officer can go knock on the door and say, hi.
So, what they do,
But this is just one company. There's other companies out there.
so they identify the addresses, they monitor compliance, they can do permitting, registration, they can do tax collection, they have a hotline, they have activity monitoring. So right now, it's about 14,000 per year. City of Hurricane just started with them just the last few months. My analysis, it doesn't look like it's quite cost effective for us right now. Most jurisdictions, they're at least a $200 or $300 renewal fee annually. We don't have any fee right now. So we almost have to increase the cost for those who are complying, against those who are not in
That
compliance.
plus lost revenue from transit room tax and things like that. In a big city, like something that's hopefully where that makes sense. I don't know if we've done that.
I agree. I think Ruth just in a few hours looked on the site. She identified the ones that didn't have a license, and it's just a matter of us taking action.
Could we legally do that?
It's all, according to Granicus, there's like 34 properties.
Right, and she had a list of things that were unauthorized.
You don't all of them. There's-
Yeah, but one or two or three missing doesn't, I
No, it's
can't,
about half, actually.
wasn't that much, but I don't think there's enough bed and breakfasts in town. If we all had one to pay for $14,000 program, you know, so.
And they can, that's the basic price, but
Right.
they can monitor it and reduce it for our needs.
Yeah.
But I kind of recommend you look at her experience 6 months from now, a year from now, and see what.
What's the legal, didn't they say we couldn't go looking for,
You can't enforce solely off of what you see on the internet. You can use that evidence as part of
Okay.
enforcement.
yeah, I think every 6 months, if we just had our staff.
Yeah.
Just
through it.
go through and do a little research and find out what's on there, we could probably do, even if we got 60% of what this would do would be for the cost this is, I just can't see it. So that's just my opinion.
Well, and I
of
think
course.
the one thing it does is whether or not we're trying to enforce something.
Right.
You know, we just do not have to follow our with our,
Back to,
back to, are we gonna enforce our,
do we have the money to pay a code enforcement person?
but that's the same thing. There's ones that are out there doing it, and people know about it, but nobody can.
Okay. Let's go to our next item, the last item here, which is discussion on the buy of the lease for the Ford F-350.
Okay, this is the 2017 Ford Power Stroke we have used for the equipment around with. It's our, basically our workforce we're using. We owe like 23,000, 24,000 left on it. We got to turn it back in. The valuation on it is $46,000. Is the value on it for a trade-in. So it's just like, so stupid. Yeah, so we're just gonna
Put it up on the market and sell it and use the
put it
extra.
on the market to sell it, and just keep it, because it only has 90,000 miles. But have to replace that truck. It's, right now, that particular truck is going for $89,000.
A story about
That's what Matt was telling you about, how City St. Louis, they lease them and they turn around and they sell them.
No, they-
lease them.
I think they buy them outright. They don't lease them. They buy them outright, drive for a year, and they try and make money on them. Because they're buying it at a state discount because they're buying them, you know, so put them on the open market, they're making money.
If you
Okay.
buy them out, that's the goal, but we didn't have that. So it's like the one we're leasing right now, it's just $1 million every year.
All right, that ends our agenda. Let's go to our council reports. Let's begin with you, Mr. Sip.
Solid waste, not much has changed. I have a meeting next week, so I'll have more to report on it and our next council meeting. We have a Trails and Park meeting on Monday. Our fundraiser is coming right along. We are collecting monies for our new park. We're selling bricks or pavers. We're doing all sorts of stuff for our fundraiser on the 24th of September. And then the sewer district has a lot going on. Blair brought up, but there's a lot going on. Virgin trying to get out of the sewer district. Leeds is talking about some of their new subdivisions coming into the sewer district. So this whole side of the county it's really starting to boom. The sewer district might be expanding, not that we want to, but the state's putting pressure on the sewer district to help out some of these other municipalities that have not done a good job. So anyways.
So Virgin has done a water study and they're concerned about,
Yeah.
I mean, they've got to come up with a sewer solution. They might be building water.
And that's what they're looking at. They've got some COVID money somewhere. They're already looking at putting a pipeline where to run it. So the upper bench of Waburken and Virgin can have the same pump station, bring it down around through Nephi's Twist almost, not quite that far north, but down around and into the new Confluence Park sewer treatment plant. So they're looking at like $1.8 million pipe and the lift station there. But they've got a bunch of money they could probably get, COVID money, to pay for it. So that's something they're looking at. And then the leads are going to come down through Quail Lake basically and tie on. There's a line over there on the west side of Quail Lake. So yeah, a lot of stuff happened in the sewer district. And then right now Trails and Parks. I'm still waiting on my new engineer. We talked to the engineer lately about the plans for the walking bridge on Westfield. We're still waiting. Yeah, so I'm still waiting on that. So
I have a quick question
Yes.
on your fundraiser for your park and all that process that's going on. Is there anything you need from us
yes,
or from them?
we're going to have our meeting on Monday and go over, but I'd love for you guys to all help sell, pavers or dinners or whatever to your neighbors. If you guys, you're all going to be hit up. We all expect to have city council names on big pavers, so save up the money.
Well, but that's a good point. Do you need donations of things to sell?
We do. We'd like to have donations for our we're going to have some auctions there at the dinner. We have a private citizen that is running our raffle. Since the city can't do a raffle, we have a private citizen that's actually taking over that part. So it will be done for the city, but we can't do it from the city according to legal. So,
But it's in September, right?
It's on the 24th of September. So it's been good. We have the Chamberlain band, Nick Chamberlain band is coming to play. It's going to be at the Center Street Park. We've got a good menu: pulled pork, Dutch oven potatoes, salad. We have hamburgers and hot dogs for those who don't like pulled pork. And it's a good. Joey's on the committee. We've done a lot of work. So I'll have more for you on the 18th, but it's moving right along. So we have our next meeting on Monday. So anyways.
Okay, thank you. Let's go to Mr. Chapes.
Well, my mosquito abatement meeting and Confluence Park meeting are scheduled next week, so I'll have more information down the next meeting. Planning Commission, they have got their hands full coming up.
Mr. Williams.
Well, nothing on trees. We've got a lot of rain that was helpful to the trees. We already discussed the cemetery. Other than that,
Thank you. And then on mine, a couple things I want to mention is that so for this water that ran off, there's people over the mesa here where they had to burn. It really caused a lot of flooding everywhere, and that's just one of the drawbacks. One of the many drawbacks of having those fires is that it just removes the vegetation, and then when we do get rain, it just floods. It's been in the fire department that getting rid of the fires and then they're helping with the flooding. I mean, it's amazing. They got both sides of that spectrum there, right? But you got firefighters that one day are fighting fires and then the next day they're stopping the flooding. But anyway, I think the city did a good job at maintaining and cleaning up afterwards. If anyone hears of anything, let us know. But I think that was all taken care of very well. So well done, everyone. On the economic development side, I had a couple more meetings with the BLM, and that all is moving forward very well with the project across the freeway, the athletic complex. We don't have the final approvals yet, and you never know until you get the final approvals, but so far so good. Everything looks very positive there. And then the last thing I want to speak of is, actually we covered that already. So no, I have nothing more. Any reason to go into executive session? All right, then
I motion that we close this meeting.
we have motion second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you all. It is 7:41.
Wow.
Is it right?
Almost as good as when you were here.
I know, right?
You did, we roared.
That tells you a little bit.